So I think it's a good time for us to start our presentation today. If you could advance to the next slide. Today, we're joined by Zoeb Farhan, who is the practice manager of our QA practice here at AlphaBOLD. He's got 13 years of manual and automation testing experience. His expertise lies with fintech, team development, and professional training. We're also joined by Humayun Tayeb. He is a senior QA engineer. He's got 8 years experience. And he has expertise in web apps, mobile apps, desktop apps. We're talking usability testing today and also performance testing. My name is Judd Holenza. I am a business development manager at AlphaBOLD. I have 15 years of IT and software experience, and I love technology and learning how to apply it in my everyday life. Next slide, please. AlphaBOLD provides not only QA services and consulting, we also are a NetSuite and Microsoft Dynamics partner. We also have practices with Microsoft 365 SharePoint, Azure, AI, and BI. We engage in various ways, whether it be ad hoc consulting, development, solution optimization, integrations, and technology optimization. And how we do it is something we call bold route methodology. This consists of blueprinting, orchestrating, leading the adoption of that technology through training and UAT, and then delivering and post-go live support. We really believe in the measure twice, cut once methodology. So there is a lot of weight on the first part, that blueprint and analysis design. Next slide, please. As you can see, we are very familiar with a host of industries. We don't know exactly where you guys fall, but as you can see, we have over 200 customers that we've worked with that fall in everything from manufacturing, financial management, marketing, banks, retail, wholesale distribution, just life sciences, just to name a few. Next slide, please. Some of our customers, maybe you've heard some of these people, maybe you haven't. TaylorMade Golf is a pretty large account that we have. PetMate, Kodiak Cakes makes my pancake mix, Calpine Energy. So we've worked with everybody from Fortune 500 companies to just smaller mom and pop. Next slide, please. At this point, I want to hand it over to Humayun and let him walk through the slides, what we're going to cover today.
Thank you, Ted. So before jumping into the details of today's webinar related to usability testing, first let's have a brief overview of the problem statement that one of our clients shared with us. So the client was belonging to the career counseling industry and reached out to us and said, hey, I want to perform some usability tests on my application, and provided us with the requirements. So we analyzed their portal and the requirements they mentioned and prepared a tailored solution for them using a hybrid testing model. And then in the end, we shared our recommendations with them in the form of testing reports. Next slide, please. And these were some of the requirements they shared with us. So they wanted us to find the strengths and weaknesses of their portal in terms of usability. And in usability tests, they wanted us to target the specific subset of a community of African American users. And in the testing scope, they wanted us to take care of English and Spanish versions of the website. Next slide, please. So in today's webinar, before discussing the solution which we presented to the client, we will discuss what usability testing is, what is the importance of conducting usability tests, and what are the benefits we can achieve. Then we will briefly discuss the UX evolution of MS Word, and afterwards we will discuss the hybrid testing approach we use to prepare a tailored solution for the client by using two different usability testing methods of moderated remote testing and contextual inquiry. And then we will briefly discuss what these methods are. After this, we will briefly discuss the other testing type methods which are available to conduct usability testing and in which scenarios we can test them. And then in the end, we will explain the solution which we prepared for the client and will present you with the complete testing process and the recommendation documents which we created. Next slide, please. Poll time. Over to you, Jed.
Thanks, Humayun. I'm going to launch another quick poll. This is just going to grab the rest of the people that hopped on after the first poll. Our question is, how often do you use usability testing as a non-functional testing type to improve the UX of any application? Well, thanks everybody for voting. Really appreciate that. Looks like based on the polls that the majority of people do the testing often. There are some that use it, it seems like daily, and some people that are in the rarely and never category. So I'm going to hand it back to Humayun to keep going here.
Thank you, Jed. Yeah, so let's jump in. With each passing day, we are moving towards the realm of digitalization. In recent times, especially during pandemic, many organizations and businesses have changed their business model and are now reaching their consumers online. So to stand out in the competition, the organization or businesses must ensure that their products are not only be useful, but also straightforward and enjoyable to use. And this is where usability testing comes into play, which evaluates how easy it is for the user to interact with the product, which in turn improves and maintain customer satisfaction and retention. So usability testing is carried out by observing real users as they interact with the application and then by recording their experience with the app. So if we summarize the discussion we just had about usability testing, we can say that usability testing is carried out to make sure that the application is useful, that if the application is made for any particular purpose, then that purpose should get fulfilled. For instance, if you have any e-commerce website, then the user should be able to complete the order using the app. Moreover, the application being tested should be usable by people with different disabilities and should fulfill all the accessibility standards. Similarly, the application should be usable enough that if the user wants to complete any desired action on any application, the user should be able to do so without any guidance. And last, but not the least, the application should be desirable, that the user after using the application should have a desire to come back to it. And this can only be achieved if it fulfills all the discussed criteria. So these are all the aspects that application owner these days take care of while designing the UX aspect of the application. One such example is the UX evolution of MS Word. So if we briefly look at the UX evolution of MS Word, the Word kept evolving itself with the new versions, with a better overall interface, functionality improvements, and a better quality of making documents. So by providing a good UX or user experience, Word was able to maintain its dominance in the market and is still very popular in today's time. So Jed, do we have any question from the audience?
Yes, I've got one question that came in. It's about measuring usability testing. They want to know if there's a way to measure usability testing.
It's a good question. Yes, we can measure the usability testing. We can measure it by using the 3 parameters of effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction. In effectiveness, we make sure that users can do what the product says it should be able to do and can achieve their goals with the product. Similarly, in second parameter, efficiency, we make sure that the users can achieve their goals without using any effort. Moreover, if we talk about satisfaction, we make sure that the user remains loyal to an application by providing them with good user experience so that they can not only achieve their goals quickly, but can also have the desire to use the application again. So using all these parameters, we can create a detailed report of the results. So as we will proceed through the webinar, we will share with you the report which we shared with client, and you will have the better understanding of how we measure usability. I hope this answers the question. Next slide, please. Yeah. So till now, based on the discussion we just had about usability testing, you will be having a clear understanding of the usability testing concepts and the benefits we can achieve by performing usability tests on the application. So now let's dive in and talk about the solution we proposed to the problem statement which we discussed earlier. By analyzing the problem statement, we recommended the hybrid model of moderated report testing and contextual inquiry. If we talk about moderated remote testing, in this particular testing method, the participant and the facilitator are in 2 different physical locations. Rather than the usability expert going to the participant's location or vice versa, the participant interacts with the design in his own home, office, or other location, and the expert watches remotely. Remote testing is a great solution for teams with limited budgets or for testing products whose users are geographically dispersed. While in contextual inquiry, as the name suggests, people are asked different questions to fill in the gaps of the observation. And this method is an excellent way to discover better means to improve a certain process, product, or service. And this method lets you observe people and ask them their feedback to yield enough actionable data that you need for your research. So keeping the problem statement in mind, which we discussed earlier, in which the client wanted us to test a specific subset of the community and wanted to find the strengths and weaknesses of the portal, this hybrid model was suggested, which allowed us to engage the test participants remotely. And with the help of contextual inquiry method, we were able to find the strengths and weaknesses of the portal by asking a different set of questions from test participants. Then, once we were done with the usability test, we recorded the responses of the customers and then created a detailed report. Next slide, please. Yeah. So AlphaBOLD acted as a moderator in moderated remote testing approach, where a group of African American participants were engaged remotely, and the session was recorded with the help of specialized software. And during the test, to-the-point information was provided to the engaged participants. And in between this process, we also used the method of contextual inquiry, where the participants were interviewed using a questionnaire. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is the questionnaire that we provided to each of the participants, and each of them then provided us with their feedback. So we asked about the product experience and the issues faced. Then we asked the participants about the product use. Then we presented the participants with 2 different product prototypes under test and asked them about their preference. And then we asked them to compare different products of the same category. And in the attached table, you can see the feedback they provided to us against the asked questions. Next slide, please. So till now, We have discussed how we use moderated remote testing and contextual inquiry to prepare a tailored solution for our client. Now let's see what are the testing methods available and how we can use them to test the usability aspect of the application. So there are 5 testing methods that we select based on client or customer requirements or based on the project needs. And these testing methods are guerrilla testing, lab usability testing, remote usability testing, contextual inquiry, and card sorting. Since we have already discussed the remote usability testing and the contextual inquiry methods, now let's briefly discuss the other 3 testing methods of guerrilla testing, lab usability testing, and card sorting. Next slide, please. If we talk about guerrilla testing, it is a method of gathering user feedback by taking a design or prototype into the public domain and asking passers-by for their thoughts. Due to its simplicity, new ideas can be tested quickly and at a low cost, making it a valuable UX testing method. And this testing is done at an early stage of development and is useful for correcting the personal and emotional expressions of the participant. And before engaging the participants, the tester prioritizes all the possible test scenarios and selects the most important core user flows to present to the participants. Next slide. Thank you. If we talk about lab usability testing, it is a qualitative research method where participants are recorded as they attempt to complete the tasks on a website or in an application. This type of testing takes place in a purpose-built laboratory where each session is facilitated or moderated by a UX consultant. And this is done when you want rich insights into how a website or application is currently performing, including the opportunity for further detailed questions and discussions with each participant after the test to better understand why they might have behaved in a certain way, what their expectations were, what could have been improved. So we can say that lab usability testing can help us achieve our goals when the budget is not a problem and the group of participants which are needed to conduct the testing session can join you in your lab. Next slide, please. So just do we have any questions from the participants that you would like me to answer?
Yeah, give me one moment. I'm looking for the question. I apologize. Why don't you go on to the next slide and give me a second to put the question together and I will get it to you.
Right. So card sorting is an excellent method for prioritizing context and features in the user interface. The technique is relatively simple. All you need to do is place concepts that we can include content and features on cards and allow test participants to manipulate the cards into groups and categories. And this methodology is great when you want to optimize your product's information architecture before building a low-fi mockup using a wireframe tool. By getting feedback from your navigation structure, you will be able to make more data-informed decisions. So card sorting can help you form a hypothesis on how to organize your content, but it's always important to validate its hypothesis with real users. Now I will request Dave to, sorry, go ahead, Jed.
Yeah, I have that question. This is somebody asked about your previous slides. At what stage of software development can I test the US aspect of my application?
All right. So basically, you can test the UX aspect of the application at design stage or during the development or once you have final product. And at each stage, we select different usability testing methods, which we discussed earlier. For instance, when the product is at design phase, you can use the methods of card sorting, guerrilla testing, or card sorting to validate the mockups. Similarly, when the application is at development phase, we can use the methods of lab usability testing, moderated remote testing, or guerrilla testing to get the feedback about the particular functionality which you have implemented. And if we have the final product, we can use lab usability testing and moderated remote testing, which can provide the detailed feedback about the final product. Now I will request Zohaib to explain the testing process which we follow for usability testing. Over to you, Zohaib.
All right. So hello everyone. This is Zohaib Farhan, and I will be taking you forward from here. My proceedings will majorly cover a case study based on one of our actual projects which we executed end to end till now. Regardless of going into the details of functional testing and performance testing, which we proposed to the client because their application was initially not that much stable to be quantifiable for usability testing, we dive into the usability testing process. This is pictorial representation of usability testing process that AlphaBOLD followed for this activity. So first we identify the core application scenarios, areas, which establish the basis path for it. This may include signing up, signing in, contacting us, or the same. We will uncover the scenarios as follow. The scenarios which we identified in the web applications are upload video, chat with a friend, read notifications, create a new group, connect to a user, and find activity logs. So there were total 6 scenarios which we put it as a usability testing things. The second stage is to recruit the participants for this activity from different demographical regions known as usability tester groups or UTGs in short. We will be using the term UTG from moving forward. As a part of usability testing, test cases, scenario details, application flows, and usability testing script was prepared and finalized by the requirement specification, which was shared earlier by the client. So the next stage was to set up the environment. This included preparation of the test environment from which UTGs can access it, like setting up the VMs, hosting the application on a staging environment, preparation and insertion of test data, installation of session monitoring tools. Now the core part was to execute the test. During the defined time, the test was conducted. In the later stage, analyzing the data which was conducted as part of usability testing and gathering it as per different variables defined earlier is done. The final stage of this process is to report the results alongside the recommendations which were made in a documented form. So this sums up the whole process of usability testing which AlphaBOLD executed, and the same is followed for each engagement related to this with little tweaks from a customization point of view. All right, I guess there is a time for poll question. Over to you, Jed.
So let me go ahead and pull up the last question here. Do you think you can leverage usability testing to improve the user experience of your application? Just give it a minute here. Give it a couple more seconds here. We're going to go ahead and close the poll. Based on the responses we've got, there's a high majority of people that think that they can benefit. That is yes. My question is the maybes, if you could, answer in the comments why you don't think it would be applicable to what you're doing. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Jed. So let's dive into the more exciting part of this webinar, that is session details. Once everything was arranged and the testing time arrived, a moderator was arranged to oversee the execution. Due to the size and location of UTGs, only one moderator was enough for this session. But talking generally, we can engage more moderators to smoothen out the whole process. The role of moderator is to assist the UTGs as per the defined script of usability testing and remove any hurdles or glitches on the go. Moderator can also take notes of the activities and gather data that cannot be gathered through data collection tools, like including behavioral monitoring and immediate responses to different situations. In this case, the purpose was to assess the web interface design of the application, the flow of information from top to bottom of a web page or between different pages, including in the scenarios, and information architecture, like how it is listed on different sections of the web layouts. Test scenarios were divided among the participants. For example, several participants were engaged in one scenario of the application, while other numbers of participants were engaged in different scenarios at the same time. Participants have distributed a brief questionnaire that gathered their background, experience with similar types of application, their short history, and their current technological interactions on a daily basis. A list of task scenarios were shared and then executed in a different pattern. So the UTGs were asked to rate the scenario on different parameters on a 5-point scale. Towards the end of the session, UTG was asked to rate the over application on a 5-point scale, and at the end, UTG fill in the general questionnaire, which gathers the information like related to the overall environment of the test execution. So now let's have a closer look at how UTGs are formed. Please remember that the tester in the group play an important role, or you can say a critical part in drawing the results of usability testing. The whole success of achieving the goal from usability testing depends heavily on the testers who become part of UTGs, especially for the activity we picked. Like we picked 4 units from the pool of volunteers who are familiar with the application, its purpose, and the idea behind its development. 4 more units were picked from the pool of volunteers who were not familiar with the application at all. They were instantly put into the situation. Next, we picked up 4 guys from the AlphaBOLD team who are familiar with the project and its purpose. Last, we picked up 3 guys who were part of AlphaBOLD's team and were not familiar with the current application at all. The idea behind our last 2 picks from AlphaBOLD was to engage and form the UTG from the group of technical audience, which was readily available within the company. All right. So now rapidly switch towards the results section. We have picked up a sample of 6 participants from the UTG, and concerning 6 tasks, we were showing this table. We see that all 6 were able to complete task 1, while 2 were able to complete task 2, 4 for task 3, and 4 and 6 for the task 5, and none of them was able to complete the task 6, which was related to finding the activity log. It shows that there is something to worry about majorly about the task 6 and partially about 2, 3, and 4 respectively. Please keep in mind that this table only shows the task completion status regardless of the time spent on each task to get it done. So Jed, do we have any questions right now, or should we be moving forward with that?
I do have one question. Is this post-task questionnaire part of the contextual inquiry method?
Yes, we will discuss about the post-task over questionnaire later in the slides. But
Okay,
in contextual method, we provide questionnaire to the participants before or during the test, where we ask them about the design and mockups. While in post-task questionnaire, which we will discuss in the slides, we provide this questionnaire at the end of the testing cycle, and is usually part of remote testing and the lab usability testing, and is used to ask the general overview of the experience of the participants with the application and the test.
Perfect.
All right, so in this slide, we are revealing the tasks. So those are upload the video, chat with a friend, reading notifications, create a new group, connect to a user, finding activity log. You must have seen that the find activity log was a failure scenario in which none of the user was able to find that activity log. Based on our floated questionnaire, in which questions were grouped to make up results for an indicator, we have listed 3 indicators here in this table. The first one is ease of finding info. The second one is location in the site, and the third one is predict section. So ease of finding info refers to the application indicators or helping material to navigate towards a particular section. Location in the site refers to the location of text boxes, labels, tooltips, or other relevant section details on the web layout, while the predict section is the user's perception about finding a certain application area under a specific menu item. Based on our rating 1 to 5 questionnaire, 1 being too hard and 5 being too much easy, the table depicts the average rating from the users. We have manipulated the actual results just to clear out the concept behind the activity more clearly. The overall rating for the upload video scenario is 3.5, which means it is relatively easy for the users to access. Similarly, you can see that other scenarios display different ratings. So this slide analyzes the results from time to execute from a particular scenario's perspective. The figures are mentioned in terms of seconds, which are spent on each task. And P shows the participant. We have picked up 7 participants in this case, and each participant spent certain seconds to get the task done. Average time on the task is put at the end of each task. So here are the results that upload video, there was average 123.1 seconds to get it done, while chat with a friend, it was 186.4. Read notifications were quite easy, so it took around 73 seconds. And create new group, it was an average of 1 to 9.6 seconds. And connect to a user, that was pretty much easy among the all, that was 69 seconds. And finding the activity log, that was the most tedious among all, which was 210.1 seconds. So let's talk about a little bit of errors which we faced during the usability testing. So if a participant clicks here and there in search of a particular operation, we consider it an error. Critical errors are those in which participants were able to perform a particular task from his driven behavior as per the capacity group within the UTGs as app familiar, app unfamiliar, and so on. While non-critical errors are those in which the participant was able to complete the task scenario, but according to his behavioral understanding, he deviated from a task path. During our detailed report, we recorded, documented, and presented these errors for understanding and improvement purposes. So in this slide, we are showing user satisfaction on the scale of 1 to 5, where 1 being not satisfied at all and 5 being fully satisfied. So here is the summary, which depicts the task and their satisfaction index. So for upload video, the satisfaction index was closer to fully satisfied. That was 3.52. For chat with a friend, it was like 2.9. It shows a little bit of average rating. For read notifications, it was 4.7. For create new group, it was 3.57. For connect to a user, it was 4.52. And finding the activity log was worst among all, which was 2.67. So once all the tasks are done and users have completed everything related to the scenario, those are floated at the end of the activity questionnaire. The parameters which we covered in this questionnaire consisted of thought web application was easy to use, would use web application frequently, found it difficult to keep track of where they were in the web application, thought most people would learn to use web application quickly, or you can say can get information quickly. Homepage content make me want to explore the site more. Like it was designed in a way that I want to dig more into the web application. Site's content would keep me coming back to it. And website is well organized. And this table summarizes and describes the results. So for each questionnaire, the percentage agreement is for different percentages, like 92%, 85%, 8%. Like that was closer to strongly disagree. So the next thing is 62%, 77% for all these parameters. So at last, once usability testing for the social media web application was over and AlphaBOLD's experts analyzed the results, we made a few recommendations. Recommendations are made considering the objective of the client from this web application. These slides cover a few of those for demonstration purposes. For example, if we talk about our task 6, which was activity log, if you remember that correctly, we recommended that user activity log should be moved under the user profile settings. And our basis for that recommendation was that most people search for user activity under user profile, while that wasn't present there. Instead, it was hooked up at the bottom of the page on the left side with the label actions. So it got many users confused, even the technical ones. So we made that recommendation as a high. Next thing, if the like we make for the chat box should be available for the user within a single click. It means that navigating to the message page and then initiating the chat increases the number of clicks by the users. So in order to lessen those clicks and moving towards our objective more instantaneously, we made this recommendation. But as a couple of participants from the UTGs were able to get it done within the acceptable time frame, so we rated it as medium. So there are other recommendations as well, like through submenus, finding information is easy, but sometimes extra submenus will increase the chances of you being lost in the application. There were a couple of things or modules which were under many menus, many submenus. So that was like irritating the user to get along with the web application or so. So these we categorized as the low. But please keep that in mind that these recommendations are based upon clients' objectives from usability testing. So the same way, if there is any other application and we make like these recommendations, the low categories can be high from clients' objectives point of view. So for this particular exercises, we made these ratings. And I guess that concludes from my side. If you have any questions, you can ask us, and I will hand over this session to Jed now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Let's talk. We're offering the ability to sit down with Zoeb and Humayun to review your existing QA processes if you have them. Talk about what you're currently using for your tool set for QA. See if you have any need to expand what you're doing. We would, based on that discussion, make some recommendations on QA automation and even talk about QA automation testing. That is, you're using it, but you wish you could do more with it and understand it better. The deliverable on that workshop would be a QA strategy document that you could use and implement on your side to improve your QA processes and automation. Next slide. I don't have any questions that came through, but to kind of follow up on the last slide, if you are interested, feel free to reach out. Let's go to the next slide, guys. Feel free to reach out. You can call us at 909-979-1425. You can email us at sales@alphabold.com, or you can visit our website, www.alphabold.com. We're also located in Carlsbad, California, if you want to stop by. So we appreciate you joining us on the webinar today, and we hope that everybody has a great day. Again, if you would like to follow up with us, feel free to reach out via the website or email us directly at sales@alphabold.com, and we can help you out. We will be sending everyone that attended this webinar today. I just had this come in as a question. Can you send out a recording of the webinar? We will send that out to everybody that attended today. So thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your week.